Welcome, Amanda here with Crafting with Amanda, and I just want to say that today I'm going to be making cards from sketches, but if you are a scrapbooker, don't necessarily bypass this video because you may learn something, because I think anytime that you watch how somebody else interprets from a sketch or draws inspiration from a sketch, you can just make that on a bigger scale for a scrapbook. And it's the same way that if you see a scrapbook page that really draws your eye, but you think, oh, I'm not a scrapbooker, go ahead and check out what they did and really look at it, because you can scale that down and make a beautiful card out of it. So I'm just showing you the components. I really wanted to kind of use the bits and pieces that have been collecting on my desk from the projects that I've done this month. These are from my mom's Heritage Album project. So I'm just I gathered around me kind of in a little nest all of these embellishments and papers and pieces and parts, and I'm gonna create some cards. So for those of you that haven't been following along, we are in the process of selling this house and moving to another state. So in doing that, I had to tear down my studio. Well, my normal card stock to make the 4¼ by 5½ inch bases is buried in the garage behind huge things that would take about an hour to unearth. So instead, I'm going to make 4 by 5½ inch cards, and as you saw, I cut down 12 by 12 papers. So I went ahead and cut all of those sketches out that I showed in the beginning, and I just kind of mixed them up, and I'm drawing them randomly. And the funny thing is when I had looked at the sketch page, this was the sketch that I was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to include that in the mix. So in God's way of having a sense of humor, this is the one we get to start with. So I grabbed some of the in full bloom papers because they're beautiful. They bring me joy. You know, I don't think you can make a ugly card out of them. So I just decided this would be my stepping off point for a sketch that I really wasn't sure what direction to go in. And I have just one of these big 3D flowers from the 3D Thin Cuts by Close to My Heart, and it's in the white daisy, so it matches this paper perfectly. Before I got started on things, I knew I needed some greenery, so I used my Sprigs and Sentiment stamp set and cut out a whole bunch of the sprigs and stamped them using my Misty. I used avocado for the card for the paper, and I believe I used evergreen for the green ink that I stamped on them. And here I'm just using black ink on the Thinking of You sentiment, and I'm trying to decide if I want to back it, kind of give it a frame, because I feel that it needs something. So that something is going to be, I'm just going to take the Carolina blue ink and ink all of the edges of that. So if you follow my channel at all, you know that I am very much a visual learner, and I like to audition or dry fit things. So now that I've done that and I have a good idea of the direction of this card, I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down. I'm trying to keep these cards relatively flat, so not doing bulk embellishments at all. They should go through the mail without any problems. I do like to give the cardstock some interest though in texture for lift, so that's why you see me kind of squeezing the leaves to just give them a little bit of curve and interest. And they, instead of just laying flat on the card base, they spring up a little bit. And then I opened my brand new bottle of black onyx pearl drops. So I'm going to put some pearls in the center of this, and this is kind of my embellishment tool for this session of creating some cards. Now I'm going to make 2 of each card, or 2 from each sketch, and some of them are closer to similar, you know, are going to be the same or closer to being identical. This one, because I didn't have one of those big 3D flowers, I'm using the flowers that were left over from the VIP kit of flowers that I sent out to my gals earlier this month. And I just pulled the Lagoon and the White Daisy ones that I had put together last Thursday. So it's kind of one of those that, with everything going on in our world, I knew I needed to do some crafting just to be able to make some progress on videos and some layouts for my mom's album before we deliver that later this week. So I just went ahead and assembled all of the flower pieces that were left over that didn't go out in the kits. So I'm finishing this one off with the green and of course the pearl drops. And kind of as a heads up, later on I will show you how to fix embellishment opportunity when you smear the pearl drops on the front of a project because you didn't let it dry long enough before you touched it again. So now I went and pulled out these film strips because it kind of reminded me the image here on number 18 that I guess it's like a postage stamp edge or scalloped edge all the way around it. It kind of reminded me of the film strip, and I was like, I bet I could use those. And originally I thought I was going to use the partials that are here on the left hand card, but it turns out that the 2x2 square is going to fill my need even more. It matches that sketch better, but of course I have to put it at an angle. You can't just make it exactly like they have, right? So I'm auditioning different pieces here. Sometimes I'm not, it was one of those things. I was working this weekend, trying to get ahead since we're going to be going to look at houses. My husband and I are going to be flying across the country to look for houses if we can find any. They go on the market and they're off the market in 3-4 days. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out for us. Thankfully, we will have some time once we move to Florida because we have some temporary housing set up. But ideally, it would be nice to have a place for all of our stuff to land so that it's not in storage and we only have access to the things that we take out with us. But we'll see how that works out. So I decided to back these film strips, as you can see, with another piece of the In Full Bloom paper. And then I'm just playing with the different flowers that I have. And I highly suggest that when you sit down to craft or create, that you leave your judgmental self at the door to the craft room and allow yourself some time to just play. Because if it's really not the right direction, like you're just not feeling it, then just breathe and allow yourself permission to play until you are happy with it. That's exactly what I was doing with these cards, is just having fun with them, trying, like I said, my goal was to create a video with cards because I know many of my gals only make cards. My scrapbook layouts get more views, but I know that there are people out there that make cards and need some inspiration. So I wanted to do some inspiring by making some cards, but I also wanted to use up scraps and kind of clean off my desk and get a clean start going into May. So here again, I'm using some of these pearl drops. And I'm going to show you that I kind of wish that I hadn't done those 2 dots in the upper right corner, but they're there and they'll be fine. And the person that receives this card, hopefully they're not offended by those 2 extra dots. Can you imagine someone being offended or upset by receiving a homemade card in the mail? I certainly can't. So I'm going to kind of do a very similar feel for the second card following sketch number 18 as I did for the first one. The hug sentiment comes from the Heartfelt Wreath and Stampin' Thin Cut set, and that's also where the Thinking of You came from. So there is a couple of the cards that I use the sentiment Smiles, and that's from the unfortunately sold out In Full Bloom card workshop that has this film strip die and the butterfly and of course the word smile. So yeah, that sold out quickly. The Close to My Heart ordered it again. They announced that it was going to go for sale like at 3:00 on a Thursday, and it was gone, I want to say, within a couple hours. That and Sweet as Honey, they did bring that, I believe, scrapbook workshop back because everybody loved the honeycomb die that was in that, along with the papers. But that sold out 3 times. They brought it back one more time, and within a couple hours both of those workshops were gone. So it's one of those situations, if you see something in the Close to My Heart world that you like, go ahead and order it if you're able, because with the shipping delays and the cost rising on things, it's just not something that can be redone again. So because I did number 19 and then I did number 18, I decided I wanted to shuffle those sketches again, because they're just upside down on the upper part of my desk, and of course I shuffled them, and now we get 16, so at least it's not number 17. And this paper that I'm using right now is actually leftover from the Makers with Heart mystery envelope that went out on April 25th. So if you haven't caught that, all 7 of us in Makers with Heart get an envelope of card pieces or paper pieces with some embellishments maybe, and then some guidelines. So this month, Dawn Haight sent us our packet, and I made a scrapbook layout using, we were able to add Lagoon and one other paper, whether it was we could add, 2 pieces of other paper, whether it was pattern or cardstock, didn't matter. But I added this paper that you see on the front of these cards and the Lagoon cardstock. So that's why I have more of that kind of leftover in my stash. And then just tucking in these black pieces, kind of making little frames around this vignette. It's funny, when I saw this card sketch, number 16, I kind of thought of an old cassette tape. You know, you take out that center circle and you got a cassette tape, you know, Air Supply, Boston, you know, just put that in your player and you were good to go, right? Yes, I'm dating myself. It's okay. So I did use the Perfectly Imperfect pattern stamp to make those splotches in the background with the black ink. I absolutely love that stamp. It makes getting that mixed media feel, or even working with mixed media and adding another textured layer, just so foolproof almost. I mean, I was so intimidated by mixed media, and yet I feel like I'm kind of getting a handle on it. Part of it is you add a lot of layers. Flat out, just add layers. And part of it is, I think, just playing. Just putting your stuff together and realizing it's just paper. If you mess it up, really how much have you cost yourself? Let's put it that way. You've already spent the money on this stuff. You might as well learn how to use it and how to play with it and make it work for you, right? So that's my philosophy anyhow. Besides that, anything that I use, I don't have to unpack when we get to the Florida. It's all perspectives. Oh, and these sentiments come from one of the sheets from the mix-ins for the March-April idea book. Has a whole sheet in black with white lettering, different phrases. And so I cut out the thank you phrase from one of them. I think I also cut out smile. On several of my scrapbook layouts this month, I have been using those sentiments kind of just to add subtitles, if you'll call them that. But it's more just words of interest in the clusters on the pages, and I absolutely love how that works. I kind of wish that we had stickers like that I know other companies have created, just for some fun. I think I would use them on almost every project if I could. So here I'm just kind of shaping my leaves. This particular branch had several leaves that I could actually get into and pinch the leaves individually to give them some interest. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll end up cutting some of these down. I'm really enjoying just having that lace border, scallop border, and just using one scallop out of it on projects. It's kind of interesting to me how just that little bit, or even tucking it in underneath that you just see that little bit, just makes a difference in the layouts and the composition of a page. So this is the one that says smile. I thought I had used that word. The music that you hear, by the way, is by Sean Paxton. He is an amazing composer and musician. He also happens to be the musician at the church where we attend out here. And I was going to commission him to put together some background music for me, and we were talking about things. So he sent me links to his kind of what he has in his vault, as they say. And so he gifted me this Sheltered Summer track as a background for my videos. And it'll swell at times and go quiet at times. I don't think you get the full effect of it unless you truly were able to listen to it. And I know it's something that I couldn't play and have you listen to while I talk. It would just, at points, it would be way too overpowering. So I thought about just having a whole section, or doing this whole video, doing an intro of, hey, here's what you're going to see, and then just playing the music while you watched me assemble cards. But I know that I haven't done that yet, so I didn't want to make people question if it was really me. But if you're interested in that, I can very happily do some more creating where all that you do is watch me create and listen to Sean's beautiful music. So if you have an opinion on that, let me know. Coming up, on March 14th, I did hit 1,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed and supported me on this journey. Very exciting. I hit 100 subscribers last May, on May 14th actually. So that's why I decided to do my 1,000 celebration on May 14th this year. And I have some other friends that are going to join me that are also YouTube creators, and the Makers with Heart are going to join in. I'm going to have some giveaways, and I'm actually going to draw winners from all of the creators' videos that are in the YouTube hop. So they'll be listed in the description on that May 14th video hop. But every comment that somebody leaves on each video, so if there's, let's say, 10 people that participate in the hop, I hope there's more, but if I get 10, and you leave a comment on each 10 of those videos, you will have 10 entries in to win one of the prizes. So it's open for worldwide. Some of the prizes that will be shipped out of country, out of the United States, will be different than what I'm able to ship in country, but the value should be the same. It's just gonna, unfortunately, the shipping costs are gonna eat up some of what would be product for the US people. So here I'm trying to enclose this card because it's a rectangular base, because number 14 is a circle element and it's squarish. So what I'm trying to do is to use the flower as that representation of the sketch. And then you can see that I'm using the other little flowers kind of in the bottom. And then I'm not putting the stripe right across the middle like they have with the sentiment on it. I've kind of moved it down to the lower part of the circle. And part of that's just for balance and composition of, I am putting it on a rectangle. And if you look, I kind of put it at the 1/3 mark up on the page so that there's 2/3 above the line and 1/3 below the line. But I'm trying to use this sketch and honor it, as they say, for this card layout. And I really have needed to remind myself to rip edges and to do some more of the shabby chic. And yet, once I do it, I absolutely love it. I'm going to do some splattering here with my shimmer pen and my black shimmer pen. Pardon me about that. My phone rang and it was the school where my son goes, so I had to answer it. It was just a recorded message. But anyhow, I believe I was saying that my black shimmer brush is very juicy. It has been through the ringer. It leaks a little bit, so I I have to be really careful when I squeeze that, and I typically end up with black fingers when I'm done. So now that I've done the first card and I really liked kind of the composition that I came up with, I'm going to try to do the same thing. I don't have the same pieces left because, again, I'm just doing this from scraps. So I truly encourage you to just get out your scraps and play with it. And you can, get close to what you did without being, an exact copy. I actually think this layout, if I had some white daisy and punched some more of the scalloped lace thin cut that I have and kind of tucked it in between the lagoon and this paper I just put down, I think that would have been just a really nice, you could, kind of an extra layer, just really up the game of like a nice Mother's Day card or a really fancy birthday card. So I'm auditioning those pieces inside, again, just trying to and close that circle down more. And I decided it would have made it too thin of a center. So now pulling out these charcoal, because that's what color the lace scallops are cut in. And then I grabbed a sticker from the sticker sheet. Again, I'm just trying to use up the things. But isn't it funny how that just little bit of charcoal cardstock cut in that lace pattern just really kind of anchors that flower image. And I of course didn't do the 3 dots on the bottom right, I did them to the left, and my sentiment is not in the middle of the flower, it's in the bottom, but I think this all works. So I think we just have to give ourselves some freedom. And I also think this is the card that I talked about where I do these dots of the pearl, and then I went to move my sheet, my tray that I had things drying in, and of course I put my thumb in one, and then when I went to move the thumb, I drug it through the piece of paper that has the Sentiment 14 sketch on it. So I'm just making a little banner out of a small piece of paper to cover those first 3 dots, and then I found a butterfly off the stickers, and that'll cover the other little oops. And so here we're now to sketch number 17. It's funny, I really did shuffle these card sketches. I don't know why I'm just getting the end of the numbers, but that's okay. It's random, and random can be this way. So instead of snowflakes, obviously I'm using flowers. It looks like they're black, but it's actually a gold paper that those bigger flowers are cut in. So every once in a while you might be able to see a mirrored image of the camera that's above you, because it's a gold finish, but it's a very mirrored finish. And here I'm taking more of those sentiments from the mix-in papers, and I'm just gonna cut them up and make those my greetings on my cards. Again, just using what I have. And I thought about getting out like an embossing folder, but I'm trying to not overdo the number of layers. So instead of embossing the front of the card, which kind of stretches the cardstock and then makes it fold weird, I didn't want to add a full panel to it. So instead I'm just really going to fill in the background with some of these leaves and just kind of have some fun with it. I think that leaf that I just tucked behind the white flower is one of my favorites from that Sprigs and Sentiment stamp set and thin cut. And I did cut all of these on the Cricut. I believe they were from Flower Market, and they're just a 2-layer flower that you can cut 1 layer or both layers, or however you want. So now I still need some more noise, as I'll call it, in the background. So I grabbed my Dina Weekly gloss sprays, and you don't shake these per se, you kind of just roll them to get them moving, because otherwise if you shake them you can have a greater chance to clog the spray nozzle. But so far I haven't used the spray nozzle, I've just kind of opened it up and used that tubing as a droplet. So, and instead of moving everything off and then not knowing how I had put them on here, I'm kind of just taking the dry fit embellishments off in kind of clusters, and then it's a little easier for me to get them back somewhat oriented to how I had them when I really liked the final layout of the cards. So I'm going to let you listen to Sean's music a little bit more, and then I'll be back and talk about our plans for the week and our trip to go house hunting. hope you enjoyed the music and watching those cards come together. So this is one of those cards where they have a mat with a center square and then a circle element and the sentiment off to the side with some sort of a ribbon banner along the top. And I just absolutely love butterflies. So this butterfly that's on this paper, I needed to highlight it or showcase it, I guess will be what I'll say. So I grabbed some of the charcoal paper that again was in my scrap bundle, and this was a piece of the In Full Bloom square that was just already cut in there. So I was looking to see if there was any sentiments on that mix-in paper. I used the sticker, and I love this because it says sing your own song. So yay, that totally works with my life philosophy. And these cards are going to come together actually pretty quickly. It was funny. It was once I started to tap into the tools of the stickers, it was kind of like, yes, use these. This is wonderful because you've already done the work that's already, ready to go. So I had cut and stamped this butterfly again from that card making workshop for In Full Bloom. I'm going to take the Shimmer Brush in Lagoon and color it in. And for movie and transition, I told you we would talk about our house hunting adventures. So we have different areas around the city that we're going to be looking for homes, and we need to have good school districts. That's kind of number one, with number two being the commute time. So there's a few areas we can look at. There are several areas that do not have good schools, unfortunately. So we're really mindful of that. And we've been watching houses and kind of looking, because normally you can get a feel for what's on the market in different areas and, kind of what prices are going to go for. But I don't know, I think all rules have flown by the wayside this time. So now we're seeing homes that come on the market, let's say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the week. They have viewing times, an open house, like maybe on a Saturday or Sunday. And then even before you get to Monday morning, they're already asking for best and final offer, and they're sold and off the market. So, I have, let's say, 4 different search areas that we're looking for homes. And on Friday, kind of the peak time, maybe I have between 3 and 6 houses to see in each of those areas. So for a low number, there might be 12 houses spread out that we can look at, and as many as 24. I don't think we've actually come anywhere near that 24 number, but in a couple of the searches, there have been 6 houses that have become available. But then, like yesterday morning or this morning, sure enough, you go to look and there's 1 house available in one search. There's 2 houses in one of the other searches, 0 in one of the other parameter areas. So there was a total of, in our 4 search areas, 4 houses to look at. And 2 of them, our agent has gone in and looked at, and they're actually well overpriced. Like they would come in well, the appraisal of the property would come in well under, any kind of price that they're expecting to get on it. And these are houses that need new roofs, or the kitchen cabinets are the old MDF covered in vinyl and there's moisture in them. So you really do need to redo the kitchen. And, so they're coming with, not all done, ready to go, move in high, but hi, there's more money you need to spend on this home. So it's been interesting. And like I said, thankfully we have some temporary housing set up for 60 days once we get to Florida. And so we don't have to be in a hurry now. We have a backup plan if all else fails. And, hopefully we don't have to implement that. But I am a believer. I go to church, and I have to believe that God has a plan for us. So that's where we're going from now. here's how you can connect with me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to join us. Remember, come back on May 14th because that will be my celebration hop. Here's another video you may be interested in, and I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you.